Welcome to day 17 of this progressive meditation series. Yesterday, I talked about finding contentment and moderation as ways to improve our meditation experience. The primer for yesterday was to consider how you would feel if everything was great the way it is right now. I mentioned how the mind quiets when we can be satisfied with what we already have, because we aren't forcing it to constantly figure out what the next step is in our ceaseless striving and reaching. Now, it can be hard to find satisfaction with the immediate moment and with who we are. But if you keep searching and asking, if you ask yourself, well, when will I be satisfied with what I have and who I am? You might start to recognize the dangling carrot leading a horse trick that the mind is playing on itself. Always saying, well, the next thing will do it. So for today's practice, I encourage you to contemplate your underlying motivations. What is the root of all your actions? The more you reflect on this and keep peeling back the layers of the onion that is your initial answer, the more insight you'll find. For right now, prepare yourself for your meditation practice. Remember to set yourself up properly. Get the jitters out if you need to. Take some time, a few breaths to relax yourself first. Now, having found your comfortable seat, prepare yourself for a 17-minute meditation practice. Notice how you feel right now. Notice the quieter state of your mind and how much more content you are after having done seemingly nothing at all. 2 other ethical principles that a yogic lifestyle promote are those of non-stealing and greedlessness. Both stealing and greed arise out of a dissatisfaction with what we already have. Indeed, it's hard to find the balance between having too little, just enough, and too much. Like everything else, though, this is a continuous process of balancing and navigating through life with artful skill. I think it's helpful to refrain from labeling ourselves and others as being an X, Y, or Z vice. Instead of saying this person is a thief or that they are greedy, it's more accurate and helpful to label the behavior instead of the person. We're better off saying that that man is demonstrating greedy behavior when he hoards such and such a resource. This allows us to see human beings as they really are, which is fundamentally adaptable and open to change. Now back to stealing and greed. Stealing, in this context, doesn't just mean taking material objects from others. One can also steal another person's time and their energy. And it also doesn't imply a conscious act of thievery. You know the feeling you have when a conversation has gone on for too long, but you're too polite to excuse yourself and then remain trapped in that conversation? It feels like your precious time is being stolen away. The other person isn't aware of how they are taking time away from you. Of course, the reason to avoid overt thievery includes all the reasons you'd expect. Plus, knowing you've acted unethically becomes a mental burden. Most often, when people think about greed, they think about money. But of course, we can also be greedy with any other resource. The problem with greed is twofold. First, it drives us to consistently feel unsatisfied. Secondly, when greed is fulfilled, we become weighed down by having too much. When we have much more than what we need, we become less inventive, less creative, less adaptable to changing situations because we don't think we need to be, or because we're just acting from a place of inertia. Don't think these 2 ethical principles of greedlessness and non-stealing are asking you to become poor and weak. Recall the first 2 principles of non-violence and truthfulness. To make ourselves poor and weak would actually be an act of violence against ourselves. Instead, we continuously take stock of ourselves and keep moving towards a place of balance where we have exactly what we need to live the most harmonious life we can. And finding greater harmony in our lives will, of course, improve our meditation practice. So see where you can find a little more balance. Where do you have too much of something or not enough? And can you move towards having just the right amount of it? We'll see you next time for day number 18.